Hey, you guys, welcome. Welcome to the Story-Worthy Hour of Power. My name is Christine Blackburn. Oh my gosh, we're going to have a good time tonight. This is actually our 20th Sunday night show in a row. That's right. It's the 20th Sunday in a row I've put on makeup. It's the 20th show in 6 months that I've put on makeup. So there you go. I'm so happy you guys are here once again. We're going to have a fabulous show. I've got 4 amazing storytellers who are going to be telling true 10-minute stories tonight. And then following the Hour of Power, we have Story Smash, the storytelling game show. It's been going really well, super funny. Blanket Patch will be here with us. Danny Zucker should be here. We're not positive. He's on hold because it's a holiday, as you know. And Kira Soltanovich, she's going to be here with us, comedian Kira Soltanovich, and she'll also be judging Story Smash. If you guys want to play Story Smash, stick around, put your name in the chat room there when we're playing the game, and we'll get you guys on stage to spin the wheel as well. Yay! All right, you guys, a lot going on, as you know. Breaking news today, the New York Times reported that Donald Trump has only paid $750 in federal income taxes over the last 5 years. I spent more than that in cat food over the last 5 years. My daughter spent more than that in craft supplies over the last 5 years. I don't know, guys. I mean, I often think that, like, if Trump wins the election, well, then I'm just moving. You know, I'm gonna go to another country. That's the plan. But the reality is that no other country will accept us because we're filthy Americans. Don't you know? It's true. 27 European countries will not allow U.S. travelers. The only place you can go to in Europe right now is Croatia. That's it. So send a postcard from Dubrovnik, please. Let's think about some good news. All right, here's some good news. Bill Cosby has been in jail for over 2 years. Yeah. How about that? Oh, I got one. Rush Limbaugh's dying. That's going to be great. Here's some other just recently heard. This is not, you know, the producer of Peeps, you know, Marshmallow Peeps, they are no longer going to be Halloween or Christmas or Valentine's Day. But the good news is that I do have some extra Peeps left over from Easter that are still sitting on top of the refrigerator getting stale, because that's the best way to eat them. Am I right? No? All right. I know how it is. I know how it is, you guys. My daughter, you know, she's 13. She sees the bright side in all this stuff, you know. Good for her. She's an optimist. Thank God, you know. Children are the future and all that. She said to me, you know, Mama, I don't care about trick-or-treating. We can just go to Albertsons and get the candy there. So there you go. It hasn't rained, by the way, in Los Angeles. It has not rained since April. It's been completely dry here, hence the fire season and all the rest of us. And my daughter keeps wishing it would rain. And I said, Alabama, it's not going to rain. It's like a 0% chance. And she said, you don't know that, Mama. Maybe that's fake news. Thanks, Trump. Everything comes down to Trump, doesn't it? It's like we can't get away from the guy. He has taught the American youth so many vocabulary words, as you know, like grab him by the pussy, pay off the porn star. And then he taught them, if you really want to get people's attention, call them names. Sure, why not? Sleepy Joe, Crazy Nancy. You see, the kids might not be in school, but they're still learning about bullying. Thanks, Trump. People do ask me frequently why I named my daughter Alabama. You know, they say to me, you know, oh, are you from there, Christine? Are you from Alabama? And no. Then she'd be called Pittsburgh. Was she conceived in Alabama? No. Then she'd be called Vegas, or really Mandalay Bay. She was actually named after that movie, True Romance. You guys probably remember that, with Patricia Arquette and there was a whole line of James Gandolfini was in it, Brad Pitt, all those incredible cast. And yeah, and Patricia Arquette, she played the role of Alabama Worley, but my daughter asked me about the movie, the character, and I had to tell her, Alabama Worley in the movie Alabama, she's a prostitute. And then my daughter, asked me what a prostitute is. And, you have to be straight with the kids. That's why I tell her, man, I just tell her the truth. It's better that way because they see through you anyway. So I just told her a prostitute is someone who never misses school, gets all straight A's, and does what their mother says. So you just tell them. You just tell the kids flat out. That's how you get their attention. I don't know. I have to say, given this whole political climate and the way it is right now, especially those southern red states, and, I sometimes regret naming my daughter Alabama. I do. I think I should have named her something more progressive, like California, frankly, or maybe something like Alyssa Milano. That might have worked. Yeah. All right, you guys. One more thing tonight. There's a lot of sports on. I don't know if you've noticed this lately. We're in a pandemic and nobody can go to sports games, but yet they're all playing. So they get the basketball shows on. That's what they call it. They call it the basketball show. You boys out there know what I'm talking about. The basketball show. Anyway, they got the basketball on, then there's the hockey, and then there's like baseball playoffs, and then there's the French Open, and then there's the Tour de France. And I think it might be the Olympics. I'm not positive. Could it be the Olympics? No? All right, one more thing. We're going to start the show. Carole Baskin, you guys. Carole Baskin, everybody's favorite tiger wrangler from the Tiger King. She is on Dancing with the Stars. Have you heard that? She is on. She's already gotten through 2 weeks. Yeah. And last week, she danced a lovely cha-cha to I Killed My First Husband tiger. That's going to work. You'll see. And ABC's not going to kick her off either. They're not. They want to keep her on so she can do other, great dance numbers to songs like Cats in the Cradle and Cat Scratch Fever. Kitty Kitty Bang Bang. All right, you guys, let's get this show going right away. I'm so glad you're all here. We're going to have a blast. I've got so many talented people here. These are my favorite people. I'm going to tell you, these are amazing people on tonight. And the first guy, he was actually on the show before, earlier this summer, in the first month of the show. And I'm super happy to have him back. He is a very talented actor. And he also wrote, directed, and starred in a feature film with J.K. Simmons, Leslie Ann Warren, Tom Arnold, and Brian Dennehy, called 3 Days with Dad, and it's streaming right now on Amazon Prime. Folks, wherever you are, please put your hands together for my friend Larry Clarke. Larry!
Hi, everybody. Wow, all that Trump stuff made me want to change my story. A lot of my stories when I come on Christine's show are about the restaurant world, because I worked in catering and restaurants for 17 years before I was discovered in show business. So I'm going to do another one tonight, which ironically takes place in Washington, D.C. And it was in 1996. And I worked for a catering company in New York City called Restaurant Associates. And once a year, they would fly us. They would drive us down in a shitty bus, and it would take all day. We'd set up for the Kennedy Center Honors, and that was at the Kennedy Center. And it is an incredibly pressure-filled event in the fact that we had to serve a full dinner in 1 hour. And whenever you'd see the show on TV, everybody at the Kennedy, well, they all eat before. And so 1,000 people come into this grand foyer of the Kennedy Center. Grand foyer is the largest hall, and I think it's 100 yards long. And you have to go through that. If you've ever been there, it's huge. It's a red carpet, and then you take a right, and then you're inside the theater. But this place is huge, and we set up 100 tables. So every table has 10, and it's all down this grand foyer. And another thing about the story is in the center of the foyer is Kennedy's head. It's this big, kind of an ugly sculpture. It's about 10 feet tall, maybe not that tall, but it's just John F. Kennedy's mug. And it's sitting there in the middle. Anyway, moving on. So when you cater this thing, you have to go so fast. You have 1 hour to do salad, main course, drinks, dessert, coffee, and then everyone runs in. And a number of celebrities that show up it's staggering. Everybody is anybody is sitting at your table. So it's amazing to see it. Like, so this particular night, because I used to do this every year, I'll never forget it because I had the Kennedys. And I just sat there the whole night going, isn't this ironic? Isn't this ironic? I'm literally standing next to the bust of John F. Kennedy, who I was obsessed with as a kid. And then I had Kennedys all in front of me. And I'm going to just jump to the end of the story, and then I'm going to go backwards. The end of the story is this. The air conditioning unit came on sometime during this ridiculous packed hallway dinner right before the whatever. And under my table were the vents right next to the bust, and they were blowing up, and they started blowing out the table, and every table had a covering, it had a sheet, whatever, a tablecloth. And then it was blowing up all the dresses and stuff. And I had Ted Kennedy saying to me, yeah, Larry, take care of that. Larry, take care of that. What's going on here? And it was a mess. And I just sat there. I was running around frantically. I was screaming at the captain saying, turn off the air conditioning. The Ted Kennedy's table is blowing up and I can't finish service. And he's very upset. Ted Kennedy's very upset. And they're running around. We're putting down carpets and we're trying to cover it up. And Ted Kennedy was unhappy. Now that's kind of the end. And that's the end of the story. But the beginning of the story was this. I was sitting and didn't really realize I had the Kennedys till they all kind of came in and sat at my table. And the first guy that sat was Ted Kennedy by himself. And I was a little starstruck too. I was like, wow, it's Ted fucking Kennedy. There he is. And he sat down and then he did a very strange thing. He looked at me and he went, what's your name? And I go, Larry. And he goes, I was holding a bottle of Chardonnay, standing there like a good waiter. And he goes, yeah. And he took out $40 and he's trying to get it into my pants, right? Now you don't tip in catering. You just don't do it. You don't want to get caught receiving money. It's just like it was a thing. And another reason why you don't take money from people, because once somebody gives you money, they feel like they own you. But when you're catering, you kind of like, the great thing about it is you're making $17 an hour, and no one owns you. So you're kind of lost in a sea of tuxedos, and you can kind of not be a great waiter, but you're not owned like you are in a regular restaurant. Anyway, he knew this. So he's trying to get the $40 into me. And I'm like, please, sir, no, do not. And somehow he got it in me. He goes, yeah. And he got the money in and he goes, keep it coming. And so I was like, I didn't know what that means, but okay. And I kind of poured out the wine to him, and another Kennedy sat down. Anyway, all the Kennedys sat down, and I was pouring so much white wine. And we had already started service. Again, we have 1 hour, bam, that I was already through like 3-4 bottles of white wine. And we hadn't even started yet. And I'm behind. I'm looking at all the other waiters. They're all finishing their salad. And I'm like, so eventually, and Ted's looking at me. He's like slurping. He's like down in Chardonnay. And I'm getting this feeling like he really wants to get a nice buzz on before he goes in and goes into the ceremony. So he's like, it's boring or whatever. So he wants to catch a buzz. I get it. But I don't have time to sit there and pour. Like, I needed a full guy to sit there and just pour wine. And so anyway, I went in the back, went to the bar, grabbed a bunch of Chardonnay bottles, and I just slammed them all down. And at the same time, I thought to myself, oh, don't you all know what people say about you? This is ridiculous. You're Kennedys, and you're getting smashed. Like, it's like they've never seen wine before. And Anyway, I threw the wine down. I basically threw the food at them. They didn't really care. And I've never seen a table more obsessed with trying to catch a buzz on in my life. It was absurd. Then when the thing started blowing, and Larry, take care of when the wind and the air conditioning and the wind was blowing up the thing. I mean, I just thought this was one of the strangest events of my life, you know. And it isn't like this isn't like a hall filled with. I mean, it was like Jack Lemmon was there, Johnny Cash is over there, Bruce Springsteen is right over here, Colin Powell is over here, George Stephanopoulos is over there, and everybody's pointing at each other too. I remember that there was this feeling that even the celebrities were blown away by the politicians because they were all mixed up. But the politicians, because we were in DC, they're the celebrities. That was like the power thing. And of course, Ted's at my table. He's the big dick. You know what I mean? Like everybody was blown away because he's the guy. Anyway, he was at my table. That's, I mean, when you kind of like when we reveal the end of the story first, then there's kind of nowhere to go because that's it. And that was, I think, the last time I went down. I did the Kennedy Center honors, and it's the last time I saw Ted Kennedy. I don't know how many years it was that he lived after that, but I'll never forget it. And I don't know what I just said. Did I just? Okay, I did it in 8.5. All right, I saved everybody. I saved everybody some time.
That's right. You're giving a minute and a half back to the room. Larry Clarke. Wow, that's so memorable, though, Larry, to have all those people in the room.
Oh, it's packed.
And what exactly? It was the awards before.
Before. And they all get a meal, and everyone's slurping and drinking
And why did you get chosen to go down there? Because you were such a good cater waiter?
I worked for Restaurant Associates in New York, and they would bus us down.
I see.
You know, Restaurant Associates is the caterer at Kennedy Center.
I see. Wow. That's so interesting. You're right, though, that it's so much better. Don't you think it's better to cater than to waiter in a regular restaurant?
Well, it's the next progression of your food service lifetime is to go to catering. And then after catering, everyone goes to a steakhouse.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And you could be very old and work in a steakhouse.
That's so interesting. Are you happy?
And then you die. Then it's over.
That's it. Are you and then between you do a few Zoom shows, you know, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. Try to stay out of the steakhouses. Just try.
Are you happy to see the salad bar go?
Oh, God. Salad bar. Which one?
Any of them. I mean, look at the
I like the salad bar at Beefsteak Charlie's.
I went
to
had
bottomless shrimp.
I
remember Beefsteak Charlie's? That was big in Baltimore.
It was huge
and it was
in Pittsburgh.
bottomless shrimp and all the beer you could drink.
Wow, I don't remember the beer you can drink, but I went there.
You know why? Because it was fucking crazy. We all got slobbered. I mean, we got sloshed.
That is hilarious. Now, I went to one homecoming dance, and the homecoming dance I went to Beefsteak Charlie's before. That was like my first fancy restaurant. And I was wearing my friend's dress, Kim Eddy. I think she's even in the audience, Kimmy Eddy. She lent me her dress. And at Beefsteak Charlie's, I had my first shrimp ever, and I spilled the butter on her dress.
Oh, she probably never forgot it.
Obviously, I didn't either 35 years later. Anyway, Larry, thank you so much. You cracked me up. Great story, man. Great story. Thank you so much.
I'll hang around.
All right, good. Like I said, there's a couple of other storytellers coming up. And, you know, over the last 20 weeks, I have told you guys, 19 personal stories. And frankly, I'm running out. Now, last week, I actually did repeat myself. But this week, instead of repeating myself, I thought I would read for you guys a story that I wrote in my book. Well, sure. Who doesn't just whip out their book? Pitt to LAX, My Story-Worthy Life. I put this out in 2015 or 2014. And the thing is, it's like a memoir. Look how thin it is, though. It's like you could go to the bathroom twice and have read my whole goddamn book. But what can I tell you? I'm so proud of it. I'm glad it's available. It's still available. You can get it on my website. It's going to cost you $12, so that's going to set you back. But anyway, meantime, I thought it'd be really fun to read you guys one of the stories in the book. I got to find the story, but it's just a simple, sweet story about going on vacation when I was a kid. The funny thing is, a couple of my sisters still take their children and their babies to this same vacation. They still do this vacation where I'm from. My family still does this exact trip, but maybe the car is better, I would assume. All right, here we go. Growing up in the Midwest, the beach was elusive like a dream. Only rich people lived at the beach. The beach was for television and movies. The beach didn't even feel real. Okay, by the way, I write better now, but now, okay, I'm moving along. Family. They packed all 6 kids into the Ford Country Squire, belts, no car seats, and no air conditioning. And they drove 8 hours east to Ocean City, New Jersey. Now, due to the birth order, I always had to sit in the way back of the Country Squire, facing backwards, along with my brother and sister. We always left at 3 or 4 in the morning. And I guess the logic was that the kids, of course, would sleep most of the way. But that was never going to happen because we were too pumped up for the beach. And since there was no air conditioning, the windows had to be down at all times, causing a constant wind tunnel. Over the sound of the hot air blowing through the car, we'd sing at the top of our lungs. We sang Peter, Paul, and Mary, If I Had a Hammer. And we sang the Monkees, Last Train to Clarksville, and the entire Neil Diamond and Bobby Sherman libraries. My sister would decorate a shoebox and fill it with little titles of songs written on tiny slips of paper, and we would sing whatever song was drawn out of the shoebox as we cruised the Pennsylvania Turnpike. We'd honk the horn through the tunnels named after the nearby mountain ranges, the Allegheny, the Tuscarora, the Kittanini, and the Blue. And then we'd pull over at a rest stop and tailgate with high C and assorted donuts that came in boxes of 12, cinnamon, plain, and powdered sugar. We all fought for the powdered sugar. My dad would sit on the tailgate and drink his coffee from the red checkered thermos that my mom always brought for him. You didn't touch my dad's thermos, okay? The thermos was the most expensive thing in the car, and it was revered. That thermos was the iPhone of 1971. One year on the way to the beach, we had to go to our cousin Stephen's wedding in New Jersey, and we had to take Grandma Blackburn with us, my dad's mom. And the only good thing about a wedding as a child, of course, was the wedding cake. Thank God there would be cake. Now there were 9 of us for the entire trip. My grandmother smoked and prayed. Holy card after holy card, cigarette after cigarette, rosary after rosary, novena after novena, tunnel after tunnel. All of us wanted to sit in the way back on that trip just to get away from my grandmother and the smoke. And then, to top it off, my grandmother would always take the powdered sugar donuts at the Kittany rest stop. Who the hell does she think she is? I remember thinking that was really funny when I wrote that. I don't know, maybe not. All right, here we go. Finally, we got to my cousin Stephen's wedding, and not only did we have to sit through church, which nobody told me about, but the wedding cake was some god-awful spice cake with rum raisin filling. It was a fucking disaster. Luckily, when the reception was over, we left my grandmother there to ride back with Aunt Ruth, and we drove on smoke-free to Ocean City. We rented a beach house each year, which, by the way, was not even remotely close to the beach. Ah, Ocean City, New Jersey, with its boardwalk, its beach tags, and its beach tagger patrol. They swept the sand every half hour, checking your bathing suit and thus your private parts for a beach tag that you had to purchase from, you guessed it, the beach taggers themselves. And if this vacation isn't already sounding like a dream, get this. Ocean City is a dry town. There's no alcohol in the entire city. You have to cross a bridge into Margate or Atlantic City to buy alcohol. Now, at the time, I thought nothing of this. But when I think of it now, I think like, yeah, that's right. Wait, I thought nothing of this. I was a kid after all. This was before I was 14 and started drinking warm Stroh's beer in Kimmy Eddie's basement. But now I think, why would anybody want a vacation in a dry town? But we kids, well, we loved it. And we were each given $1 each to spend on vacation. One year, I got a speckled cowrie shell that had been made into a whistle. And another year, I got one of those sliding number puzzles in the black and white frames. Another year, we stopped at Gettysburg on the way to the beach, and we spent the afternoon looking for cannonballs on battlefields. My mother even encouraged us. Oh, look over there, honey. Is that a Confederate soldier's boot? That year, I bought a tiny little silver cannon statue that was $1.10. My brother, who was a huge Civil War geek, he floated me 10 cents. Now, at the beach, sunblock didn't, of course, exist, in the 70s. And so the skincare treatment was as follows. You go to the beach, you burn, burn, burn. Then you put on a white T-shirt and go back to the rental house and lay across the bed while mom applies Noxema to our blisters. And then the next day, you wear the white T-shirt all day long, on repeat. Now, to avoid getting sand in the car, at the end of the day, my dad would carry each of us individually from the beach to the country square, where he would whisk our shins of sand with like this little whisk brush broom. It was so painful on our sunburn. Then we'd have to sit on the steamy vinyl seats in the sweltering wagon. I still think that I can feel that whisk on my. My mother made for us. Mom had one too. They were called shifts. My sister and I all wore brightly floral printed shifts. My brother Scotty, the only boy, he got matching shorts. Pictured the Kennedys in Hyannisport, only we're at the Music Pier in Ocean City. My mother paraded us up and down the boardwalk and into all the fudge shops for free dessert, one tiny sample of square at a time, and all 6 children had their sweet tooth fixed. And after repeating the beach, the boardwalk, and the sunburn over and over and over again, we'd head home after a week with our $1 gift and a large seashell collection. Often we'd also take starfish from the ocean and we'd put them in a sand bucket with a little bit of water, and then we'd use them as window clings on the way home. We'd take them in and out of the bucket of warm water, placing them on the hot car windows, and we'd peel them on again and off again until all the little suckers fell off their dead, smelly bodies. Went back home to Pittsburgh. Yay! How was that, you guys? All right. If you want to buy my book, I'm sure you go over to my website. You know all that. Anyway, that was fun. Thanks for letting me share that story, you guys. All right, you guys, this next talent coming up, boy, oh boy, she is just an amazing girl. I've known her for a few years. I've been on her show a couple of times. She is a doctor of human sexuality, and she's the host of the very popular show Sex with Emily on Sirius XM, which airs daily from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sirius XM Channel 109. And she's also a regular contributor and featured expert for the publications like Glamour, Cosmopolitan, Men's Health, Refinery 29, Harper's Bazaar, and the New York Post. Please welcome my very good friend, Emily Morse. Emily.
Hi, Christine. Thanks for having me. I love listening to you, all your stories. Thank you. All right. So I'm Emily, as she said, and yes, I'm a sex doctor, a sex therapist, and I was on a sex retreat in Hawaii when the global pandemic hit. So you might be thinking, well, of course, I mean, what a great place to be. That's your job. You're on a sex retreat. It doesn't really suck, to be honest, to be out of town for work, but this was a different time. So the retreat started on March 9th. So if you can recall, The retreat was March 9th to the 17th of this year. And on March 9th, when I flew from Los Angeles to Hawaii, it wasn't as crazy. I mean, we were starting to hear about the pandemic. A lot of us were watching, families in Italy on their balcony. Do you remember this? They were singing to each other, and we all thought, "Oh, that's so heartwarming. That's so kind." But God, hopefully we'll never get to there. And then soon enough, by the 15th, we're on lockdown. But I'm still in Hawaii because I wasn't going to cancel my retreat. And it's okay. So yes, it's a sex retreat, but there was no sex. I actually try to go on one retreat a year that I'm not teaching or I'm not working, because I believe in continuing education. I always think of what else can I learn in my industry, in my business that I don't know, yeah. And this wasn't the first one. So I've done a few retreats before. There was like orgasmic meditation retreat. Maybe you've heard of oming. This was before it got kind of scandalous 10 years ago. I went for a weekend and there was random guys that would, it's not that random, but they would stroke your clitoris, and you're not supposed to, it's sort of about female love and female empowerment, and you can check it out. There was like orgasmic monks, and it was an interesting one. Then I did a Kundalini Tantra retreat once in Mexico. What else have I done? Oh, somatic therapy. I'm a somatic trained therapist. I did that once where I had to learn to teach couples how to speak to each other with what they want. It was actually through their bodies. Our bodies, most of what we say is actually not our words, it's our bodies. So I've done a lot of things, but this retreat interested me because it was called Back to the Body. And I had never done anything quite like this. So one of the biggest, the reason why it interested me is because one of the biggest obstacles for women is that we walk around and we don't love our bodies, okay? And then we wonder why we're not really in the mood for sex. We have a hard time also because so many women were givers, right? We're pleasers. But actually receiving touch or receiving pleasure and like being able to ask for what we want is a challenge. But pleasure heals. Pleasure is our birthright. So I thought, I had a few other sex educator friends that had actually been on this kind of retreat. So I said, I'm going to Hawaii. So I get to Hawaii and I land. And again, I wasn't wearing a mask yet. It wasn't that sketchy yet in travel. And I get there and it's at this very remote retreat center on the northernmost part of Maui. So we drive into the retreat, and I don't really know what to expect. I'd heard a few things here and there about, you could learn touch. Like some women go on this retreat because they want to learn about how to ask for what they want, right? Maybe they've been married for 10 years and they still don't know how to ask for the partner for what they want. Some women, experience pain during sex. Some had, body image issues. So you go and you get a practitioner. It's called a sexological body worker. And you work with them and you kind of learn how to ask for your needs. And so it was a really funky center. Here's the other thing. I hadn't had a vacation in months. I'm a bit of a workaholic. And I know what you're thinking. Well, why are you going on a sex, even though it's sex retreat, for work? And I thought, well, it's in Hawaii. It is sex. Like if it's even sex adjacent, maybe this could be a good time. And we're staying in a beautiful place. So I get there, I meet all these women, everyone's lovely. And once a day, we all meet with our practitioners, right? But before that, there's other activities. For example, one day, and it was a little bit wooey, I have to say. Most of what I do is very straightforward, a lot of talk about sex, a lot of get people to communicate about dating and love and relationships. But this one was, we had one day where we had to cleanse the masculine and like the ways that we've been sort of, men in we had to sit and yell at a chair with like a stuffed man on it and say all the ways we've been wronged by the patriarchy. There was no bra burning, but there was some, people were crying and their tears. Then there was another day where we had to speak to our vulva, okay, which is your vagina for some people. It's the external part of your vagina. And things like, we had a partner on this one, and we weren't actually naked, but we were holding it. And you could say like, what do you need from me? I'm sorry, I haven't been there for you, my vulva. What might you need? And you'd try to listen and see what they said, and then someone would be taking notes. And in advance of this, I read my notes, and mine said, you really need to make an appointment. at the gynecologist. It's time for a pap smear. So that's what my vulva said to me. And then we'd have these sessions where you would meet with your guy. Now, I'll get into his name was Cosmo, and he was my practitioner, and he was taking me through the whole thing. But meanwhile, the news started to break. This is like the 12th or 13th of March, and everything's locking down, right? People are, my office is closed, my team is working from home, everyone's, doing the face masks, and we're starting to wear, what am I saying? The, hand sanitizer everywhere, and it becomes a thing. And I start to feel a little bit guilty because here I am at this retreat and I'm in Hawaii. And honestly, one of the, I'm sitting there worried about this, thinking about it, is that people are at home and they're, hoarding toilet paper, and our president's drinking Clorox. And my biggest concern was that when I tried to take a nap at lunch, you could it was a very small retreat, and you sort of hear moans from women having their treatments from the practitioners, like moaning and sex noises, although there's no sex. I'll get to that. And I thought, I'm really lucky, but also I should probably start to, it was very hard for me to relax and get into the retreat when A, there's a pandemic, and B, I work in an industry where it's essential. Like, you come to find out there's certain things, right? Hospital workers are essential, and doctors, are essential. Weed is essential. And talking about sex, well, not the most essential. People, it's pretty, I thought, oh my God, people are going to be home with their partners. They weren't even having sex before the pandemic, and now they're stuck at home with a partner that they might not, want to have sex with. People are emailing into my website. Kids are going to be locked in their room, and we know what happens then. They're just going to be masturbating. They're just going to be, they don't have those answers of what to do. Parents don't know how to school their kids about, so I get all caught up in my, work stuff, but I'm like, you got to ground. You've given yourself this retreat, the pandemic, the world will still be there when you get back. And I had a few really great sessions with my guy. So I go into his room, it was our last day, and I'm at the retreat center. And so some of the things that happened for me was we learned about, some consent stuff. We did some bondage things. Now, let me explain to you this about a sexological body worker. It's one-way touch. So there's no sex, there's no emotions, but they can touch you with a glove, and you can sort of learn different parts of your body and if you so choose. But for me, I thought, I know a lot about sex. What do I really need to learn? And I'm also very hard on myself as a workaholic. So the last day I said to him, I said, I'm not sure that I'm really, what have I really learned? What have I really learned? And he said, you are hard on yourself. Do you ever just slow down? And I was like, here's the slowing down thing. I tell everybody, go 5 times slower. That's like my top sex advice for people. I say, go 5 times slower than you think. Because we rush through sex, we rush through everything. But then I realized in that moment, I had been rushing through the sex retreat. So I go in and he said, you know what, I've got some advice if you'd like. I said, sure. He said, you seem to move really fast. And I went, well, what do you mean? He said, well, we had a lot of stuff happen this week and you're on to the next. Can you please learn to savor the moments in between? And I was like, I cannot believe that I'm in Hawaii and I'm getting the same advice over and over. But I realized at this moment in Hawaii that he was actually right. I had taken a year off of dating, pretty much off of sex, except for I did have some maintenance sex with my ex because, well, maintenance. And I thought, how am I really going to be able to, get into a healthy relationship? The entire world is slowing down unless I really take some time and focus on, what I actually wanted and what I needed. So I ended up, everyone's like, you can't drive. My doctor said you can't fly. I ended up staying at this retreat center. Everybody left. And I really learned to pay attention and to be present in a way that I never had before. And now we're all slowed down, right? The pandemic has taught us a lot. It's true. I ended up adopting a kitty there. There was a little kitty. I named her Clitty the kitty. And I realized that for me, just to even get connected with this kitty, she needed me to slow down. The cat needed to feel safe with me. And all of my work got slowed down. And I realized that next year, I'm not going to do any retreats. In fact, if we're allowed to travel, I might take a road trip. And I also realized I learned to take my own advice. that sex isn't really just about the destination and getting to one point, and it's a journey, and we're always peeling back the layers. And remember, you can pretty much get everything you want if you just learn to slow down.
Wow. Emily Morse, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. That
Yeah,
was a really great story.
thanks.
What happened to Clitty?
Clitty the kitty. So Clitty the kitty is still in Hawaii because I couldn't fly with her, but she ended up staying at the retreat center, and I'm sure she's having a great time. But I'm still
sure.
missing Clitty here.
Yeah, I bet. But I'll tell you, I have heard that's like the best quarantine story I've heard. You know, that is like by far tops any quarantine story I heard. You got stuck at a sex retreat in Hawaii.
It wasn't so bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of good in that sentence.
Yes, exactly.
You're amazing. Thanks, Emily. You guys don't forget to check out Emily's show on SiriusXM. It's really very good. And I've been on it a couple times and we have a great time. She has a fabulous studio right in Hollywood. It's a lot of fun. Thanks, Emily.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, guys, 2 more storytellers, and then we are off for Story Smash, the storytelling game show. But right now, let's bring up this guy who is a comedian, and he's been making me laugh for a couple of years now. I met him, and I'm just so glad I met him because he really is a funny guy. He has been named a lot of good things like this: a brilliant comedy character chameleon from LA Weekly. How about that? One of the funniest people in the LA comedy scene, the Comedy Bureau. How about that? And from Huffington Post, he's refreshingly silly. He is. He really is. He's appeared at TBS just for on TBS just for laughs in Chicago, Bumper Shoot in Chicago, wait a minute, I'm going to say it wrong. He's been performing a lot. Here we go. Chicago and San Francisco Sketch Fest, Riot LA, Bridgetown, the New York Fringe. I know all those. All right, you guys, please welcome my friend Tony Sam. Hi, Tony.
Hello. Well, see what you can uncover on a simple Google search and just stopping at the first page you find. Well, that's all here nor there. Well, this will be fun, huh, guys? I get to tell you a story and look at the haircut I just gave myself the whole time. So that's a 2 for 1 for me. Win-win. I think it looks okay. So the story I was going to tell you about is, listen, I'm going to level with you. I like getting married and then divorced. I've been married twice and twice divorced. I'm not afraid of commitment. It's just keeping those commitments. So my first marriage was rather brief. We were together a total of 2.5 years, but the actual marriage itself only lasted about 7 months. So I guess you could say there were some signs that maybe I guess I should have taken heed of. But this story, and sometimes I always feel like I'm going to give it away if I tell you the title of the story, but the title of this story is called The Telltale Dildo. And so a little backstory. So we get married. We both cry when we give our vows because, probably realizing at the time when we both said it, we did love each other, I hope. But also, like, what are we doing? Because, we were in our 20s and you make all sorts of silly decisions in your 20s. Marriage is a good one of those decisions. So we say our vows. I get a really great deal on all-inclusive Tulum honeymoon. And I'm so excited because I like to tell people I have a degree in marine biology, and I've always wanted to go to Mexico and go in the ocean. Well, I booked this because I'm assuming everybody loves the ocean and everybody loves spending time at the beach. And it turns out my wife was afraid of the water. Good to know before you drop a lot of money on that, I guess. Well, I thought it was a pretty safe bet, but guess I was wrong. So we're at the resort, and it's not going well. I is in the greater spectrum of where honeymoons rank. This one's way down at the bottom. We didn't like each other. It turned out. I think it just took getting married to realize what a terrible mistake we were making. And so on the honeymoon, we we fought all the time, and we didn't even have sex on the honeymoon. We were wondering what we did most of the time, and so we had this huge fight on the pool deck as we're headed to dinner. Like I've never said and or had those things said to me by anyone else, like just really awful, unrepeatable things. And meanwhile, this family's on the other side of the pool, like just with the parents covering their children's ears, trying to usher them away to the buffet. It's like, let's get to the nachos, kids. Don't mind these lunatics. So that was a bad sign, you know. But we came home, and we were like, well, let's do it. Let's give it a go, huh? And so things were okay, but you know, we'd got a lot of wedding loot, a lot of gift cards, a lot of checks and such, and one of the particular gifts that really was kind of like the moment you're like, yeah, this is done. We got a gift card to a sex shop. Oh yeah, huh? $100 gift card to a sex place to spice up your relationship. And you know that, I mean, you know, that's probably one of my fun friends thought that was a fun thing to give a newlywed couple. And you know, by all rights, that seems like a good gift. Well, turns out really wasn't, because we were completely on the wrong page. And you know, I should have known from the beginning. But so we decided to go to the sex shop, and we're like, let's we should get something, right? So we go there, and we can't agree on anything, right? Like I keep suggesting, I don't know, I suggested whatever I saw, and she'd be like, no. She'd poo-poo it. So I said, listen, we're here. We've got $100 gift card. Let's just both pick something out. We'll split it. We'll essentially split the gift card. Sorry, it was a $50 gift card. I can't imagine what we would have got at the sex shop for $100, except a lot of videos we never would have watched. It was $50, and so we decided to split it. So we split off, and just it's weird being in a sex shop as it is, right? Because it's like a store, but with things that, you know, it's just, you know, everyone's ding dong hanging out or breasts and such. And if you have a question about a product, it's a weird place to have a question about a product, right? Excuse me, do you have volume 4 of Titty Twisters? Because the first 3 volumes were really good. And I don't know. I didn't have any specific questions while I was there, but I just was thinking about all these things. And so I thought the thing to do would be to pick out essential oils, because that's fun, like massage oils. Like I get us massage oils, and I think they were flavored, and I was like, hey, this is okay. This maybe this will save everything. So we meet up at the register, and so I've got my massage oils, my flavored massage oils, and I'm like, hey, I thought maybe this we should do this. And then she presents the biggest orange dildo I've ever seen. It looked like a fucking lightsaber. This thing was huge. It's like if like Darth Maul had, you know, like any one of the Sith, like it was definitely evil. It was not a good Jedi warrior color. It was a type of orange that is the color of a sun on a distant universe. It was It was electric. This thing, like, if you turn the lights off, even though it didn't glow in the dark, you could still see it for a good 45 minutes. This thing was just veins. I mean, and it had the biggest balls at the hilt of the thing. It really was incredible. However, as incredible as this giant electric orange dildo was, it's not what I was looking to introduce into our new marriage. Call me crazy. So that kind of in my head was like, oh, okay, well, I see I have some competition now, which you don't enter into a marriage to then feel threatened by a giant cartoonish dildo that you could imagine on a Muppet or something, or Thing from Fantastic Four. If Fantastic Four's Thing had a penis, this would have been it. It would have, except it was bigger than his probably would have been. And it wasn't a joke. Like, I thought, she's being funny, but no, she was like, I always wanted one. And I was like, oh, okay, well, fine. I mean, I'm here, I guess. Anyway, so we bring the stuff home, and I don't even want this thing in the house because it just, like, it's a lot to take, you know? I mean, I once had an ex-girlfriend insult me she kept telling me I had an average size penis. And if that's the worst thing you can say to somebody, I actually thought I had a pretty okay size penis. Because everyone says, oh, you got a small dick, but no one's ever said that. So, like, I know I'm okay, but this thing was just too much even to think of. So, I threw it up. I was like, listen, I didn't want this thing in here. I threw it under the bed. We didn't talk about it. It was just remained in this black bag, like we bought booze to drink on the street, but because they want you to be discreet, so they give you this black bag to put the dildo in, so you don't walk out in the street holding a giant orange dildo. So he kept it in that black plastic bag under the bed, and there it stayed. And I swear at night I could hear the thing thumping, you know, like thump, thump, like the blood just gushing through this thing, just filling it up with lust for my wife. Just, I knew it was there all the time. We'd go to bed and it'd be under the bed. And, well, a couple weeks later, it was a few weeks later, we get into some huge fight over nothing. It was like this huge blowout fight. And in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have, but I grabbed the dildo in anger, and I pointed it. I said, "Is that what you want? Is that what you want? Why don't you yell at this?" And well, that didn't end well. But that relationship obviously didn't last much longer. But I didn't want that thing in the house anymore after that big fight. So imagine, though, trying to be discreet about throwing away a giant orange dildo. That was like a mission in itself. Like I planned it all out. Like I'd wait midday for no one to be home so I could walk out to the dumpster because I didn't want to put it in our trash, because if God forbid the trash exploded and a giant dildo popped out, or the dildo forced its way out of the hefty bag, I didn't want anyone to know that it was in our trash. So I put it in its own special bag, and like I imagine I know I didn't, but I probably should have worn a hat or something tucked down low so I could like just scurry along the side of the building to the dumpster in the back. But somewhere in the Chicagoland area, in some garbage dump, there is a giant electric orange dildo that ruined my marriage.
Wow. Tony, Sam, I totally hear you. I would be very disturbed to find a big orange dildo under my bed. One question, did you ever use the massage oils?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask if I ever used the dildo. And of course I had to. Uh, yeah, we did. I think we did use them once, but it was like, I don't know. It
Yeah.
just, everything about it, just
Yeah.
nothing was right.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
uncomfortable for sure. I mean, sex stores are uncomfortable. It's a strange thing. Yeah. They talk about the products like they're at the Gap, it's just
No, I know. I never like. It's not that I spend a lot of time in sex shops, but if you have a question, like, I mean, you go to Home Depot or you go to like Best Buy and you ask someone like about, the bass on a stereo, they just come over and they read off the thing. Like, I don't need someone to come over and take the package, the blow up doll package from my hand and read I don't know.
All right. Thanks, Tony Sam. I really appreciate it. All right, you guys, we're running a little bit late, but that's okay because you guys are in for such a treat. This last talent, she is an amazing woman. She's a comedian and an actress and a writer. She's best known for her correspondent work on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno for almost 9 years. She was actually the phony photo booth person. I don't know if you remember that, but it turned into being one of actually the show's longest running comedy piece, which is ironic because Jay wasn't even in it, which is so funny. But anyway, this girl is an amazing person. She has a half-hour special on Showtime called Here Comes Trouble, and she has a 1-hour stand-up special on Amazon that I highly recommend. You will laugh so hard, you guys. It's over there on Amazon. You got to check it out. It's called You Did This to Me. And she's also the sidekick of the host Donald Faison on the Netflix game show Winsanity. And you can hear her now on SiriusXM's station She's So Funny on channel 771. Please welcome my friend, the very talented Keir Soltanovich.
Oh my gosh, that intro was amazing. And yes, this hat is a cry for help. I think I wore a hat last time, right? Christine left. She's gone. She's on a break. Union rules, you guys. The Zoom union, you got to leave after every 25 seconds. I don't know how much time I have, Christine, if you want to tell me, because I forgot to ask you, but I'll just keep talking.
10-minute story, 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
A 10-minute story?
Yeah, do it. Or whatever you want to do.
Oh, that's fine. No, that's great. 10 minutes. I will just tell 10 1-minute stories. I'm kidding. I'll do some stand-up. All right. So I have stories and I have stand-up. First things first, I was just in the sauna. I have a disorder where I have to sweat constantly. And also it's so hot in there. I make it so hot that my children can't stand it. And I have a little bit of peace and quiet in my sauna. So this is my Russian sauna hat, and that's why I still have it on. I am quarantined with my boyfriend, and my husband is pissed. I'll be honest. I know that Christine likes to mute everybody's faces and voices and just pretend like I'm in some sort of peep show, where I'm just dancing by myself and I can't see anyone around me. I hope you guys are there. I'll be honest, as a comic, I kind of need your mouth. Kind of need it. It's like going to a strip club without your wallet. Why are you here? It's fine. Anyways, I remember last time this was weird too. It's okay. Guess what? I can't see you. It's probably for the best because when you do these Zoom shows as comics, we're used to controlling the room. And now we do these Zoom shows and you guys are in your own house. We can't control you. There's some chick in the corner, changing her diva cup. There's some other guy like checking for testicular lumps. It's probably for the best that I can't see you right now. So this is good. I'm glad. Look, I usually do talk to myself, so this is actually pretty normal. But it's just reliving the conversation with my mom and how I could have answered her differently. So we are homeschooling, and I'm not qualified at all. Like zero qualifications. I'm a comic, so I can't help my 9-year-old with his 4th grade math. Do you know how sad and depressing that is, that 4th grade math is too difficult for me? He was like, can you help me, mommy, with these fractions? And I said, there's a 3/8 chance I can't, because I'm a comic. Here's the math I can help him with. If someone books you to do 20 minutes of stand-up and they promised you chicken tenders and you do 30 minutes, do they also owe you nachos? That's a math problem that comes up in my business a lot. No, nothing? Good. Okay, good. Your silence is telling me so much more than you'll ever know. Okay, I wrote down some notes earlier, so let's just get to them. I am watching workout videos. I'm not doing them, I'm watching them. It's like the Travel Channel, where I'm like, hey, one day I'll go there. That'd be fun, right? And this whole area from boobs to pubes, this whole middle area is a nightmare. It's like Coachella just left. There's litter for no reason over here, and like a muddy patch, and then just tire tracks and herpes. It's also a thing. So here's what's interesting. I'll tell you guys a quick little story. I found an underground Korean spa. Look, I don't want judgment, okay? Because I know there's a lot of judgy people on this. Look, I'm looking at you, Larry Clarke, with an E at the end. How can you trust anybody that does that? But I found an underground Korean spa that's open, that lets you in one at a time, where some woman who's wearing a mask, and I don't mean mask on her face, she's wearing like a, Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, Eyes Wide Shut kind of mask, and she will slip a really rough, like, hand in between your ass cheeks if you give her $40. And I've dabbled with, I don't know, how much longer is my question, are we going to do this? So here's what I did. I drove around. I've never felt more like a dude looking for a prostitute in my life. And I get it, guys. I get it now. I loved the feeling, the rush of like, the cops are going to get me. And I don't mean regular police. I just mean middle-aged women in yoga pants who want to yell at someone for not standing 6 feet apart and gargling sanitizer. So I went to the back of the building because I heard rumors I might be on a little underground Korean body scrubbing Facebook page. And I drove around the back where they told people to go. Not only is it not even cash only, it's no credit cards. It's literally Venmo to some guy whose initials are IOU. That's who you have to pay. I love it. You guys, I'm a Soviet, I'm a Russian. This spy stuff is in my blood. So I did a little surveillance. I did a little recon. It's one at a time. Oh, for those of you wondering if I went in, I'm not going to tell you because as a former Soviet, I learned my lesson of my neighbor will call and report you. I'm not telling you guys, but let's just say I researched, and here's what's interesting. They do one at a time. The scrubs are actually outside in their alleyway next to a dumpster. So a Korean woman in an underwear bra, kind of matching circa 1942 World War II-esque outfit, is scrubbing people next to a recycling bin. That's how obsessed these people are. And when I say these people, I mean me. So what I'm saying to you is, if you want the hookup for a little Jim Jill bang, that's what it is in Korean, the Jim Jill bang room, if you want to get a little scrub up your taint, let me know. Hats included. You come with me. I take you there. You'll feel dirty, but then you'll feel clean. Get it? Because they wash you. and they throw water on you. And yes, you're behind like a encampment of transients. Let's just be politically correct. But that shouldn't stop you from getting all your dead skin taken off by a woman who speaks 4 other languages, and English isn't one of them. I so want to do this. Valerie, hit me up, girl. Unless you identify as a man, no judgment. I'm totally voting for Biden. Anyways, that's my time. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Wow. You're Soltanovich. You're so funny. How long do you spend at a Korean spa?
A week.
No.
What's the problem?
How long is the beating session?
Oh my God, Christine, you can't ask me. I'm the wrong person to ask. That's like asking someone who is on heroin, like, so how long do you like to be on heroin? Their answer is all the time. You like to be on heroin. You don't ask me that, because I am an addict and I go to meetings. No, I don't. My meeting is with a Korean who's half naked. I'm very obsessed. It's a problem. How do I know it's a problem? Because I lie about it. That's how you know, everybody. Heads up. I will lie to my husband. He will call me. And of course, this is all pre-C19. I'm like the kids. I call it, Anyway, so he'll call me, like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm at Vaughn's buying food for our children. I'm not at Vaughn's. I'm naked with Koreans. I'm addicted. But I'm here talking about it because I feel like that's the first step to being addicted, is talking about it, right? I don't know. I've never been in AA.
No, I think you're right. And also your skin is glowing. And I think that has something to say for itself.
Right? I got my hair still wet. I really did come out of I have a sauna in my house. My husband built it for me. That's the only reason I stayed married to him. Honestly, I would have.
It was a very good on him. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you guys, stick around because Kira's going to be one of the expert judges on Story Smash, which is happening in about 1 minute. But right now, I'd like to thank everybody who was on the show tonight. Go ahead and unveil your thing. There he is. Tony Sam, thank you so much. Amazing. Emily Morse, you're the best. You guys don't forget to listen to Emily on SiriusXM every single day, 8 to 10 o'clock Eastern time. Thank you so much, Kira Soltanovich. You are one of the best talents, seriously, I've ever met, and I'm super impressed. And, of course, Larry Clarke, I love you to death. All right, you guys, thank you so much. My name is Christine Blackburn. Good night.
Thank you.
I place my own bets and I make my own deals. So if you're following me, you better make clear, yeah. Hey, hey, hey. If you're looking for heaven, baby, the line forks to the rear, and you can follow me, follow me. I'll take you down to the river. Follow me, follow me. I'll keep you silent.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.